let's just start. I need you to be our eyewitness for us.
Sure.
What are you experiencing right now?
Well, of course, the nation's never experienced anything like this. And in the peaceful transition of governance, never in the history of the country has there ever been a attempt to overturn the decision of the people and the decision of the Electoral College. And you only have to go back as far as 2005 and 2001 and see how John Kerry conducted himself and see how Al Gore, the then sitting vice president, conducted himself. And for the president to unleash a mob on the Capitol and to go after his own vice president, who by any estimation, I think has been a loyal vice president to him, you have to question the president's mental stability at this particular point, especially with there only being 2 weeks left to his nomination. But the crowd itself here was like pouring gasoline on a fire. He got out and tweeted and could have very easily dismissed this or just have them assemble peacefully. But instead, they assaulted the Capitol, broke windows, broke into the Capitol, etc. We haven't got all the reports, but there were some injuries. I could see from my office, which overlooks the Capitol, the ambulance that came and took some people away, etc. But credit to the Capitol Police for how they conducted themselves and tried to keep an agitated crowd at bay throughout this time. But it's just a disgraceful event for the country, the pinnacle for the world of what a constitutional democracy is about, to appear like a banana republic was disheartening. But I want to give Mitch McConnell credit. I want to say what I thought was one of the best speeches I've heard was Mitch McConnell on the floor of the United States Senate talking about why this was wrong. And he told the president, obviously before, that he thought the Electoral College, and including all the court cases that have taken place, and most of them by star judges that the president himself had appointed, who said that there was no fraud or abuse. And the president continues to say this with no evidence or proof. And McConnell got up and said he's never seen anything like this in his 36 years, and went on to say, that as a nation, we can't end up into partisan squabbles every 4 years and have one side accuse the other. That's why we have an electoral college, and that's why we have an election process. And never before in our history has there been an attempt to overturn the decision of the public or the Electoral College.
All right, so right now it seems like you're in a safe spot. Where are you right now?
I'm in there's the Capitol itself, which sits on Capitol Hill. Directly across the street from the Capitol on the east side is the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress. On the west side is the mall and the Washington Monument. On the north side is the Senate buildings, and on the south side are the House buildings. There are 3 Senate buildings and 3 House buildings. I'm in the middle House building, and it's called Longworth. And so I have a direct view of the Capitol grounds and from the floor that I sit on.
And as you were looking down on all of that, what were you witnessing?
Well, you witnessed the crowd, et cetera, and it grew rapidly because he had apparently addressed them down at Lincoln Park, and then they, appeared. Now, in the meantime, of course, the Congress had convened, and when you have a session of this nature, both houses, the Senate and the House, come together in the House chambers. but because of COVID, there was a limit that was placed on the number of people that could be there. So they sent a number of people back to their respective offices to review the proceedings on TV. So that's what a majority of people in the House and Senate did. But then once Pence had made the determination that there was a dispute over Arizona, the way the rules work is that then each chamber goes back to its House. Obviously, it was in the House of Representatives, so they didn't have to move, but the Senate had to go back to the Senate, convene, and then carry on a debate on that objection. That's when Mitch McConnell gave that famous, what I believe will become a very famous speech in history. And I think it was within 15 or 20 minutes after that, again, and this is with the president tweeting out that Mike Pence is a coward and doesn't have the courage and could easily overturn this. And there's nothing in the Constitution that would do this. So one has to, I mean this sincerely, have to question the mental stability of the president at this time. I'm sure for someone in his position who's used to getting his own way all the time and has been the most powerful man in the world for the last 4 years, now to see that all slipping away, his his mindset and the way he's conducting himself has got to raise serious questions with all Americans.
You know, what we're witnessing right now is just really nothing that we've ever seen in our lifetimes, right?
Nothing.
Yeah, just kind of take us there from your perspective in terms of the crowd size, in terms of what you were hearing from your office. I mean, take us to the Capitol.
Well, from the offices, you could hear the undercurrents of the crowd, the intensity of the crowd. But remember, there's a lot of people who are there as observers, and I think many who were there just at the bequest of the president. They didn't come there with I don't think came there with a specific plan, or at least one that one can derive. But ultimately, at his behest, they stormed the Capitol. And their sole purpose was to disrupt the proceedings because he said the vice president didn't have the courage to end them. So they took it into their own hands to do it.
And so when you saw them storm this, I mean, what were you thinking at that moment when you actually saw these protesters break windows?
What you could, all you could feel first and foremost was for the safety of people in the Capitol and our police officers, number one. And then the tremendous sadness that this is the United States of America. This is the most powerful constitutional democracy in the world, known for its peaceful transition of power. And we looked like a banana republic, incited by the President of the United States, actually inciting the crowd, calling his own vice president a coward, calling up governors and criticizing the Secretary of State of Georgia, and all because they didn't see things his way. You got to question the mental stability of the president at this point. And I think serious minds have got to sit down, and there's got to be a thorough discussion. There's no question that Joe Biden will receive the electoral votes that he needs. There's no question that he will be president of the United States. None of that is at risk or at play. But he is still the sitting president of the United States and capable of doing something as dangerous as we just witnessed in the United States Capitol, attacking your own Capitol.
And I'm going to just...
In a Senate controlled by members of your own party, where the presiding officer is your loyal vice president of the United States.
I'm going to just touch on this for just a few more questions before moving on to what's next. Right now, at this hour, what are you hearing? Are you still seeing these demonstrations? Because it looks like from what I can see right now is that at least at the Capitol, it's dying down a little bit.
Right. Well, what they have to do is first is secure the perimeter. Once the perimeter is secured, then they're going to have to go through the entire Capitol and make sure that anyone who might have gone in there, anyone, God forbid, who might have something or planted any kind of explosive or anything, all of that has to be checked out. And that's going to take some time. And then also anyone that's in the Capitol is obviously going to be escorted from the president, the place, and arrested. But and then the Congress has got to get back to its business. And I hope the members of the House and Senate who have witnessed this now understand the importance and significance of the peaceful transition of power. They can't possibly condone what has gone on here, and hopefully understand that words have meaning and action, and people who do not understand the rule of law like they do, who are elected members to a body, and they should not be inciting them to come to the Capitol like this. So I would suspect that we will go forward. The electoral, all this is the Electoral College reporting to Congress what the results state by state was. And for the tellers, and I was a teller in the 2005 election results, so your teller sits there and we get the results. We read the results of the state and we say that it's been certified by the secretary of that state. This is a state obligation. States are run by the, elections are run by the states, but we then certify the results as have been certified by the Secretary of State and the sitting bodies of those respective 50 states.
Yeah, now going back to the events that happened just 2.5 hours ago, did you hear any gunshots at any time? And did you feel for your safety?
It's hard to say because you don't know whether they were gunshots or firecrackers or explosives. There was some lighting. There was later on in the day, as you begin to see it's getting more and more sparse and it's clearing out, there was tear gas to the recalcitrant people. There was probably a core group of very intense individuals that were up on the steps and pressing to get in. And there was a larger body of people that were kind of spectators and they were kind of observers, not making a lot of noise, probably felt that, they wanted to make a point on behalf of the president, whatever. I have to add, that's completely justifiable and legal. What's not is you do not have the right to trespass, break windows in the Capitol, storm the Capitol, disrupt activities and the process. Then you are trespassing and you are breaking the law unlawfully.
Now, did you ever fear for your safety, and do you fear for your safety in the coming days?
I would have to say I have not, but I know many who have and who are concerned. And most of all, what you're concerned about is your staff. There's so many young people that work here and come every day and do the work, and who are, through no fault of their own, other than the fact that they're employed here, become caught up. Now, the good news is because of COVID, we're all on very small staffs. In fact, there's only 2 of what normally would be about 7 people that would be in my office. But it still, is disconcerting when you see that they're placed in harm's way unnecessarily. There have been many demonstrations on the lawn of the Capitol, on the steps of the Capitol, et cetera, that are peaceful demonstrations. And, you seek to do that, and you get a permit and you do it. That's the American way. But this was not a peaceful demonstration.
And kind of wrapping things up now, Congressman Himes has tweeted saying, hey, we're going to get back to work tonight.
We are.
Yeah.
Because the greatest democracy in the world is not going to stand by and let a president incite a riot on the steps of the Capitol to attempt to overturn a decision he's not happy with. We have a responsibility as the United States Congress to accept the report of the Electoral College. That will take place. If there are objections, the objections will be voted on. And so we will vote on those objections and stay here through the night or whenever, however long it takes to get this done. But make no mistake about it, it will get done. Joe Biden will win the Electoral College, as has been stated already, and he's already won the popular vote, and he will be inaugurated as president on January 20th. The big question, I think, that hangs over people right now is not the results of the outcome, as Mitch McConnell said it more eloquently than I could ever. He recognizes this. The question is, what is the mental state and capability of the President of the United States over the next 14 days with someone who would turn a crowd against his own vice president and the elected bodies of both the House and Senate?
Now, because you keep going back to questioning his mental stability, in the next 2 weeks, is there anything that Congress is looking to do to maybe curtail some of his powers?
Congress is looking to, number one, get through the Electoral College vote and on with the business at hand. It's then up to Congress and its leadership to meet and discuss what has transpired today and what does that mean. And also, as we look forward, what does that mean for the inauguration day? So there are a whole set of issues that are going to have to be questioned by our leadership. And that's why I think it is vitally important that we have to, like it or not, have to look at what is the current mental state of the President of the United States.
And can you hint at some of the possibilities right now that are on the table in preparation for Inauguration Day or in just the next 14 days in general? Some of the things that Congress is going to be talking about.
Exactly. That is amongst the many things that Congress is going to have to be talking about. Getting through this process first. Once those results are determined, and they will, then the preparation for the inauguration begins. Now, Congress will not convene again until the week of the 20th. And so Congress then will be back. But in the meantime, the leadership and the committees putting everything together for the inauguration, there's a big question mark that hangs over that. And I think the American people have seen firsthand today a sitting president of the United States incite people against the sitting government and, frankly, his own vice president.
Mr. Larson, I want to thank you very much for making time for us. We really do appreciate it.
Well, believe me, it's a sad day, but I want the American people to know that as sad as this is for the greatest democracy in the world to be betrayed as a, banana republic, the process will work. The Electoral College will go forward. President Biden will receive the electoral votes and he will be inaugurated on the 20th. That will happen.
Actually, I have one more question for you though, please, because there are people in our state, okay, that side with the president, who truly believe that this election was stolen. What's your message to them tonight as they're seeing the response to what they believe is a stolen election?
Name one single court case. Look at the Republican governors, the Republican secretaries of states, the judges. As Mitch McConnell said, they should all read Mitch McConnell's speech on the floor of the Senate, where he outlines very clearly the history of the nation. Never in the history of the country, have we overturned an election by the people. And that's what the sitting president is calling upon people to do. And even as he finally, late in the afternoon, asked them to leave the Capitol, he still was saying that this was fixed, this is stolen, this is, and no one has put forward any inkling of evidence that that is the case. And so you can get emotionally caught up in these things, but at some point, the facts have to speak for themselves. And it's people like Mitch McConnell, who I have to have the greatest respect for what he did. It had to pain him to tell his own sitting president that no, the Electoral College votes are the Electoral College votes. You know, and they've been reviewed. The courts have looked at them, and they haven't found anything. And so it's going to take leaders like McConnell, I think, that will bring the American people. Anytime you lose an election, as people were hurt after, you know, Hillary Clinton lost. People were hurt after, you know, John Kerry lost, and certainly after Al Gore lost as well. But there was always the transition. I think you're going to see people like President Bush come out and speak as well and talk about bringing the country together. I think the President-elect Biden has to continue to act as a healer and bringing people together and assuring people he's going to represent both sides. But I think this is what happens when you end up being partisanly charged and putting yourself above the interests of the nation.
All right, well, listen, I guess we're going to end it at that. I want to thank you again so much for making
My
time
pleasure.
for us.